All right. This is that moment of truth. This is the moment of truth where we wake up. YouTube's already waking up. YouTube has something to prove. YouTube's like, we're going to wake up real quick. Look at us go. We are so ready for this. Hello, YouTube. Rockfin, where you at? Rockfin, you waking up? What are you doing, Rockfin? You're going a little slow. There's Rockfin. Twitter was first, as usual. YouTube was, really quick. YouTube had something to prove. And last, but certainly not least, was Rockfin. Although it's not a competition. You guys know me. I have to wait to see it to make sure we're all good. But anyway, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon to East and West Coast, because we're a little later than usual. And why are we a little later than usual? Well, because my guest was on a train. But before we get to that, let me give a shout out to the folks who make this show possible, our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to find all the content creators and streamers you know and love. They compile a list for you. They update it twice a day of just all the news and articles and streams going on. It's a one-stop shop to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord. Go to independentleft.media. So, as you guys know, this is the last Tuesday of the month, which means it's that time of the month. And also, there have been the March for Medicare for All happened this weekend. I was at the one in LA. My guest was at the one in DC, and she was also at AOC's office yesterday. So we're going to get the lowdown of everything that went down from her perspective. Please welcome, for that time of the month, Savage Joy. Joy, what's up? Fresh off the train.
It's one of my favorite hours of the month. True story.
I appreciate it. And I told everybody, your train was running behind. That's why the show's a little later than usual. And also there was this old guy who kept running around saying that his butt was wiped and sniffing people's hair, just going all around the Amtrak. And so I know everyone had to deal with that too.
That is true. And crying babies as well.
So welcome.
You never know what happens on public transportation. Like, I bet I am so punk rock right now because I smell like train.
There you go. Did you take, so you took it, was it a straight shot, New York back to the Harrisburg area where you live?
And usually we have to transfer in Philly, but this time it was New York to Harrisburg. It's just, for some odd reason, it decided that the train decided it was just going to shut down, turn all the lights off, and none of the conductors were going to tell us why. So we just sat there in the dark for like a half an hour. Like, is our train broken?
And we can't possibly do better than this. We can't possibly have a high-speed rail in the United States. We can't do that because
No way.
the oil and gas companies wouldn't like it. So welcome back. Welcome home to your area. And so let's start with the march itself. How was your experience in Washington, D.C.?
It was phenomenal. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was stressful as hell because this is like volunteering 16-hour days of months, for months. And you're so nervous and your anxiety so high. Is everything going to be okay? Is, the people dropping off the speakers and microphones and stuff were like 45 minutes late, and I was panicking, and all of these things. And I was MC, so I was on stage for like 6 hours, which is not easy to do, even for someone who does shows all the time. But it was incredible. It felt like that energy that we used to feel about each other at Bernie rallies. We would just see each other. We haven't met except online, and get to meet in person for the first time. And I think I hugged like over 100 people. It was wonderful, and the support was incredible. Our speakers were so amazing. Our speakers were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We had Afeni from Fred Hampton leftist, and she's fire. We had Dr. Joe Jarvis, who is a conservative who flew in from Utah to talk about why we need Medicare for all. We had Paula Jean, who I just hung out with the past few days in New York. and Marianne Williamson was our keynote, and she threw down the most fire speech I have ever heard her give. It was epic. Like, it was like in the 90s, but I had goosebumps. It was that good.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had a fun time here in LA. It was very hot and it was very sunny, but I guess that's better than the alternative. I wouldn't have been heartbroken if it was like 5 or 10 degrees cooler outside, but what are you gonna do? And I'm sure. Well, I'd imagine DC in July was the same.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, but to be quite
Ooh.
honest, my biggest fear was rain.
Mm.
And it our event ended at 5, and it literally started raining at 5. So I
Oh.
was like, "Yay, it feels so good." And now it doesn't matter.
So let's talk some about the action yesterday. Which, by the way, first of all, I love how, and I don't know if you saw my short. You probably didn't get to because you were on a train. But I dropped a short video because there's so many people who are like, "Why are you going to AOC's office? She supports Medicare for all, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, I was like, I'm pretty sure I can explain in about 60 seconds why you would do that. And so I dropped a short video and I just said, look, they had a call to action. Did you look at like what their agenda was? They have a call to action around Medicare for all, calling for elected officials to take these actions on behalf of Medicare for all. So you would go to a politician who, wait for it, supports Medicare for all for that type of call to action. If you go to a politician who doesn't support it, whose base doesn't support it, they would say, why the fuck are you here? I don't support this. Why would I ever do this? But if you go to someone who says, hey, you campaigned on this, your supporters expect this, here, this is what we want. That's, I don't see how this is complicated.
It's not. People just don't want their heroes questioned. I
Right.
mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, if you want to pay for my plane ticket to go to Mansion, I'll protest him for a lot of reasons. But the fact of the matter is, as a disabled person, to me, it's way more offensive when somebody runs on Medicare for all and hasn't even tweeted the words Medicare for all for over 6 months. I take deep offense to that. Um, she has over 12 million followers on Twitter. If she even so much as texted or tweeted the hashtag and for all something, this gets people talking. She has power. She has so much power. And instead she tweets, in response to Republicans hating on her, and she goes on RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff like that. And it's like, how can people not feel abandoned? So when people say, why would you protest someone who already supports it? She's not showing us she supports it. That's why.
Mm.
Because saying you support it and actually acting on it are two different things. Those words mean nothing. We know for a fact AOC cannot pass Medicare for all herself. Like, we
Yeah,
know
no one
this.
expects that. No one expects all everyone anyone is asking for is to use the leverage you got. No one's
Exactly.
asking you to waive them, and that's why it's like, here are the actions we expect as the people. And look, I see what you're saying, and what bothers me more, like I don't follow any politicians on Twitter, and that's very deliberate. I don't really care that much what they do or don't tweet. I mean, I get what you're saying. She has 12 million followers. It'd be cool if you mobilize them to something productive, and I'm with you 110%. What bothers me more is when in the political realm, they're not using the leverage they have. That bothers me more. The whole thing with force the vote, that bothers me more than what they do or don't tweet. If they were using their leverage and they were, doing everything in their power to get the type of policies that they campaigned on, which are also the types of policies I want to see in the world and you want to see in the world, personally, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but me personally, I couldn't give a fuck what they do outside of that. I couldn't give a fuck. Play on Twitch all you want. I don't give a shit. Tweet about whatever else you want. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. I'm not looking for a mentor. I'm not looking for a hero. You're in the political realm. You're already guilty until proven innocent as far as I'm concerned, because I have no respect, none, zero, for our electoral system. That's just how and that's from experience. That's from what I've seen under the hood. It's disgusting. So I don't care about all the aesthetic bullshit if you're doing the right thing in the electoral realm. And if you're not, that's who you deliver the call to action to and say, this is what we expect. This is what your base expects. And you are supposed to be a public servant. So these people, they're like, well, what about other people who don't support Medicare for all? Don't you protest them too? Like, of course you do. But you're putting the cart before the horse. First, you have to tell the people who said they're for it, hey, you ain't acting. And my mom taught me actions speak louder than words. Then, if they are acting, then you go to the other people and say, you need to support this policy. I mean, and it's some people, they can't separate the personal from the political. They're not able to do it. They are not able to do it. They are such, it's like, you cannot question the royals. You cannot question our queen. That's not how it works. This isn't freaking Game of Thrones. They're supposed to be public officials who answer to we, the freaking people.
And that's one of the things I said in my speech, you know, fight as hard for Medicare for all as you fight to defend your hero.
Like, yeah, I saw that. I liked it.
And yeah, I kind of spoke next to Susan Sarandon. So that was amazing.
I got a big kick out of her line where she was just like, so I single-handedly beat Hillary.
Yes.
I didn't know why they didn't run me for president.
And I finally got to give her my book.
That's cool.
And stuff. So, but I digress. You know, she was so cool and down to earth, as everyone says she is. But, you know, it's so important for someone who is, you know, the 1%, you know, monetarily, to come out and be that humble and say, you know what? People are dying. Like, you need to step it up. Like, that's the thing that I want people to understand. None of us called her names. There was no hashtag fraud squad. Any of that bullshit. That's counterproductive. Nobody did that. This was about, why are you not even so much as talking about Medicare for all? This is why, you know, why have you abandoned this issue when we're watching eugenics of the poor? You ran on this. You sat on my show and said you'd fight for it tooth and nail. Yeah. Where are you? We elected you as an activist. And in the meantime, you're giving over $100,000 worth of, you know, donations out of people's donations they gave you to candidates who don't even support Medicare for all. So not only is she not even talking about Medicare for all, she's literally doing things in, you know, that are affecting, are further pushing our goals away. And that's not acceptable. And I'm sorry if she's your pop star. And I'm sorry if it, you know, if it hurts to realize that she's not, you know, worthy of you guys being sycophants for her.
None of them are. I mean, and it has the whole, like, you cannot criticize our queen, or, and it's not even criticism. It's like asking for delivery on what was promised and deliver. I mean, you read the Action Network petition that was presented to her. There are like 4 or 5 calls to action. A call to pressure Biden to do, you know, to use his power, a call to push for Medicare for all, a call to plan and organize with activists to do so. These are deliberate calls to action
that she campaigned that she would do.
And you know what? I said this in my short. I said, hey, the Democratic Party doesn't do anything unless they're forced. You know who I'm quoting there? AOC.
Yep.
She's
Let's bring the ruckus.
It even goes into whole what FDR used. He said, make me do it. FDR used to say that. That's what he meant by that. And it's like this whole I don't want to spend the entire time just talking about, being a sycophant to politicians because in this case we're both preaching to the choir. But, you know, this whole like being a sycophant to politicians that you do see right now, this is Hillary Clinton 2.0.
Yes.
This is what leads to people like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. This is what leads to it. I mean, it's sort of the same mindset where it's like these people who love Trump. Trump can do no wrong, and Trump's is, and it's all about his personality because he's a jerk, and they like that. And it's not about like, well, he doesn't support any policies that would make your life any better. Same with the Hillary. It was all about her personality. And if you dare say anything about her, you must be sexist, despite the fact she is one of the most powerful people in the world who has used that power to do terrible, terrible things. But in their mind, she's some helpless, fragile vessel that must be protected and preserved. And how dare you criticize her at all? How dare you even look her in the eyes? There's that same kind of energy where it's like, look,
absolutely,
AOC is powerful. Like, if you're a politician, you are part of the 1% of the 1%. The second you're elected, you're part of the 1% of the 1%. Who am I quoting there? Ro Khanna, a frickin' politician. Those aren't Ron Placone's words. Those are Ro Khanna's words. You're in the 1% of the 1%. You have the power to affect war and peace around the frickin' world. If you campaign around actual progressive change and you don't deliver on it, progressives need to hold you in account because no one else will.
And I want people to also realize that AOC and everyone else who joined Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, they all had to sign documentation that states, I am running on these things and I promise to fight for these things. They even signed, paperwork saying that they would do all. We're not even asking anything of them except just show up.
We're not asking anything they're not able to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And it's like we concede the obvious. I've always been the first. I'm like, we get it. You're outnumbered. No one's doubting that. We all have, we all can count. We get it. You're outnumbered. We're asking you to use the leverage you have when you have it. I mean, it's the equivalent of like you go in a burning building to fight a fire and you just throw your arms up and be like, we don't have enough equipment. It's really big. It's like, we get that, but turn on the hose. That's going to help. And then we're going to try to do better. But first turn on, and they're like, we're not going to even turn on the hose. Mama Bear said no. And it's like, you got to turn on the freaking hose. We're just asking you to turn on the hose that you have in your hand. We're not asking you to do more than you could possibly do. Like, anyway, so one other quick question on this topic before we bounce around to other themes. So what was the Cori Bush thing? Cori Bush showed up, which that's great. I appreciate that she showed up, but some people were getting on your case. What happened there? I pay attention to Twitter at arm's length when it comes to this stuff, but fill me in.
So we as our group reached out to everyone from the squad and everyone from the Progressive Caucus numerous times, emailed them, phone call, called them, and we never received any responses as far as, we support it, but we're busy, and just no responses whatsoever. So I'm on stage. I'm an MC. So I'm on stage and I'm going to introduce the next guest. And I'm not sure of his real name because I just know him on Twitter, but a gentleman in the front yells out, Cori Bush is here, and I just asked her about force the vote, and she said it's manufactured divisiveness or something like that. And he said, and she made me turn the camera off and things like that. And I was like, it was the first, I didn't even know.
So they yell that you're on stage and they're yelling that? That's a lot to yell while someone is on stage.
it just got so quiet, and he was just like yelling it, and I was like, I mean, it's all on camera, it's all on
Okay.
film, and so I'm just standing at the mic like, like I didn't even know she was there. And I'm 85% blind anyway, so it's not like, even if my team didn't tell me, it's not like I'd freaking know.
Mhm.
So like when you're emceeing on the stage for 6 hours, you don't really know, you're not really privy to
Yeah,
everything
how are you
that's
gonna
going
know everyone
on.
who's there, especially when you are, mostly blind like yourself?
Yeah.
Like, physically,
So
yeah.
so I was totally caught off guard, and when this guy said, she said, she insulted Force the Vote, made me turn off the camera and stuff like that. My response as the disabled speaker on Force the Vote was just, that's really upsetting, because um it's I don't remember exactly what I said. It's on camera. Um but um I there was literally no insults, no name calling. There was absolutely nothing except me saying I was disappointed and sharing my story of when I met Rashida Tlaib, and she held me in her arms and she cried and promised to fight for me. That's what I talked about. Literally, that's it. And she was only there for a few minutes and left. And one of the things I said was, it would have been nice since you stopped. Like, I was like, oh, that's cool. She showed up. Like, I'm not going to be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh,
Sure.
cool. She showed up. But one of the things I said was, it was weird because there was nothing on her social media about going. Like, there wasn't even like, hey, I went to the one of the marches today and we need Medicare for all, because there was literally nothing. Um, even stating she was there. So the only thing showing she was there is photo ops. So that's what pissed me off, because here's your opportunity. I was just at a march and there are 56 of them nationwide, and I'm listening to speakers tell their stories, and I'm not even going to make a Twitter post about, this is why Medicare for all is important. I'm glad I stopped by. Something like that. Like, why you were that uninspired? So I that was my point. I was just like, why would you go to an event and not, I, I don't know. It struck me as weird. Um so yeah, now I'm getting shit, saying I said stuff I never said, saying I bashed her, which I never did, and it's on camera. I
Mhm.
never said anything bashing her whatsoever. And when I ask for receipts, nobody can give them to me. But people who are, you know, who just love drama, they'll just share the tweets anyway and be like, "Yeah, Joy was talking trash," and I'm like, I actually wasn't. So it's upsetting, as someone who has given so much to these events, to now have it overshadowed by petty bullshit that just blatantly did not happen.
So basically, all that happened was somebody yells out because they asked Cori Bush a question, which that's gonna happen. I mean, I'm glad that Cori Bush showed up. That's cool that she showed up. I mean, it's an event for Medicare for all. Like, how can you not expect, like, someone's gonna ask her a question? That's just gonna happen.
Right.
And she's a politician. That's kind of part of her job.
Right.
I personally, I have never been to an event in my life ever for anything, what in the political realm, where there hasn't been one moment where somebody asked a politician a question, like, and it was somewhat confrontational. I mean, that's like saying, like, the sun came up. I mean, that's just what happens there. So, and if someone yells at you when you're on stage and they're going, well, she didn't like force the vote, and you say, well, that's really disappointing, like, and you're the one being combative,
Like, I
How?
didn't even know she was there. So I'm going to introduce the next speaker, and all of a sudden I'm told she's there, and she insulted something that I was the disabled speaker of. And I
Mhm.
actually thought I was quite nice considering the fact. So that's why I'm like, the whole time, unfortunately, for the past month especially, we've had everyone and everyone imaginable trying to tear us down, lie about us, harass us. I've been doxxed. I've been told they're going to call Social Security and say I'm lying. I mean, I can't even tell you guys all I've been through. So, unfortunately, we did expect things like this, but Corey's being tagged and all these things, and I'm like, great. Like, she thinks we're all like hateful idiots, even though half of my crew posted selfies with her
Yeah,
and was like,
people wanted pictures with her.
I know.
Like people would, which like I guess I wouldn't really say like, oh, she's doing a photo op if people want pictures with the person, which to my understanding that's what happened. People asked her to take a photo with them.
Oh, people did. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, half of my crew was like, has posted pictures with her and like, thanks so much for coming and stuff like that. You don't hear about those. You don't hear
Right.
about that.
Well, and so many, I mean, even at the LA march, there were people who said, "Hey, it's cool that she came." I mean, so I think what people love to do when they want to bash a movement, and this is why like I have very little tolerance for this, and I think it's 90 some percent of the time in bad faith, 100% of the time through ignorance, is they'll try to take the most like they'll try to take any type of just out of line behavior, which I don't think asking Cori Bush a question is out of line. I'm just speaking more generally here. But, they'll take some of the most like kind of out there behavior and say that that reflects the entire movement.
Of course.
And it never does 100% of the time. And that is such a dishonest thing to do. That is such a gross and dishonest thing to do. And I've always been outspoken about that. I'm like, look, if you judge any type of movement by like its worst actors, especially online where people are anonymous hiding behind Twitter accounts, you're never going to support anything. During the frickin' primary in 2020, I got called every name in the book, and I got death threats, and that's just from Bernie Sanders supporters and Tulsi Gabbard supporters. The only two candidates I could stand at the time, and because it's like you're always going to have, and that's what people do to try to discount an entire thing. Oh, screw Bernie's ideas because some of his supporters are jerky online, or screw. It's so absolutely ridiculous, and it's so dishonest when you see people doing it.
Right. And people are saying like the guy that yelled that was our team. And I'm like, I don't even know his name. Like, I've never met the dude in my life. So actually he wasn't. And I don't have that kind of power to control hundreds of people, in the audience. I'd like to, and maybe some people think I am that powerful, but I'm kind of not.
One of
Um,
my biggest wish in life, Joy, is that someday I will be half as powerful as people who don't like me seem to think I am. That is one of my biggest goals. I was like, people who don't like me, I hope that someday I am half as powerful as you think I am. I really do.
that's awesome. That's very Susan. That's very like this one woman just cost the entire election. I'm like, Bernie told me to vote for Hillary and Joe Biden, and I sure as fuck didn't do either one. So thanks for assuming we're all like that impressionable, but no.
Well, it's because for a lot of them, again, this gets back into the theme we were talking about. For them, it's just so all about personality that they can't imagine anybody who's not that way. I mean, that's why I
Yeah.
mean, even like the whole whenever somebody says Bernie bro, still at this point, it's like they sound like a parody of themselves. It's like, look, I know that you don't understand what it's like to actually just have principles that you support, because you just do what centrists tell you to. You do what these blank suit politicians tell you to. That's why you actually think that they're anything more than useless, because they are
Right.
freaking useless unless you're Wall Street, and you don't even realize that because you're just so blinded by just personality bullshit. Whereas
Yeah,
a lot of people who got behind Bernie, myself being one of them, we didn't get behind Bernie because we thought he was some messiah. We didn't get behind Bernie because we thought he was perfect. We got behind Bernie because we knew he'd be a transformational president, and he freaking would have been. And I didn't have my political views because of Bernie Sanders. I had my political views, and then Bernie Sanders was a viable candidate who finally was talking about the types of policies I wanted to see in the freaking world. And because he was in the right place in the right time, he showed me that, oh my God, I'm not as alone as I thought I was. There's a lot of other people in this freaking country that feel the way I do. Still not enough. We're still very small. That's why, all this infighting's great, because we're such a huge movement. The more we infight, the better. I mean, we're so big. We've got tons to spare. But like, we're still small, but there's not as few as I thought there was. I mean, prior to 2016, I honestly thought, man, I just live in a country where I am a total outcast. And I guess I was just really born in the right place. And oh, well. And all of a sudden, 2016 came around. And I thought, well, all those things I thought, they're still true. But I'm not as alone as I thought I was. There's a lot of other people going around. I guess in this country, I'm just an outcast. There's more of us than I freaking realized.
exactly.
And that's refreshing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm hearing so much, the most overused word in the history of words, grifter. And I'm like, that is such a freaking stupid overused word. Like, when people say I'm a grifter for doing the marches, I'm like, I am a disabled person who has not had income for 19 months. And these marches have cost me so much money that is on my charge card. Like, I've literally dropped over $3,000 on my
Wow.
charge card for renting a sound system, for, porta pot rentals, for all. Like, people don't understand all that goes into this. So not only are we not taking money, we are literally spending money that we don't have to put these things on. So to me, that is so insulting. Like, what am I getting from this? Like, I'm a volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
I mean,
isn't a job.
that's the funniest thing. You're a grifter for this thing you're volunteering for and
Yeah,
making
exactly.
$0 from. You're grifting off of what? You're grifting off of what? Wanting healthcare? That's the grift? Like,
The
what
grift
the
is I'm
hell?
sacrificing time with my husband, who I haven't seen in like months, because
Did
I'm
you at
like,
least say hi to him when you came in the door? Has he not
I,
seen you at
you
all
know,
yet?
I do. And then I'm like, sorry, I'm on a conference call.
I gotta
So,
do.
like, now I can actually like see him when he gets home tonight and be like, surprise, I'm not on the
Oh,
phone.
party. So he's at work right now.
Yeah.
It's not like he was like sitting like, oh, I made a lovely lunch for you, and you're like, I gotta do Ron's
I'm
thing.
busy.
Put it on the stove. I gotta do Ron's thing. The dog can sit with me. But well, that makes me feel better. I would have felt bad if it's like, no, he's sitting with, he was gonna serenade me, and he's got lunch ready, but I'm babbling with you. I would have been like, I appreciate the dedication, but we could have just pushed this to tomorrow or something.
But
I didn't
it's
mean.
that time of the
It
month.
is that time of the month. It is that time of the month.
And we need that theme song.
I know we need a theme song. Yeah, we need, since we decided to go with the theme. I know you weren't sure about it at first, but then you were like, nope, we're doing it.
Do it.
So what's gonna happen next? Like where, in your words, and you're not speaking for anyone except for yourself now, but like where do we go next?
So we are actually going to be doing monthly actions. Not all marches, of course, because that's like months and months of work. But each month we're going to have an action. And before I forget, we have a petition at M4, so M4M4ALL.org. And essentially what we're doing is on the 7th of August, we are filing a human rights complaint with the UN because of the unnecessary deaths that are happening, as well as the austerity that is happening because of our violent healthcare system. So we are
Oh man, I
literally,
love that. So
oh
you're
yeah,
you're you're
like
basically going to the UN for them to pressure the United States for a universal healthcare system.
absolutely, we
I
are
love
filing
that.
an official
I
complaint.
freaking love that. I love that so much because I mean I don't know, in my speech I talked about an experience that I had in Italy with healthcare. I hope to post it at some point, but that was like what I made my speech about. Um, and it's so interesting to me. Like when all this is I I've decided within the past like year or so with everything that's going on in the world, I want to just have a more kind of global approach to my life, like to touring and stuff like that. Like I want to, just see as much of the world as I can. And and so I've kind of connected with my roots a little more in Italy, and I've had like more conversations like with my family over there when I can about things. And it's funny sometimes just because I'm this big of a geek, like I'll do some like research on some of the political parties over there, and you'll notice that they don't talk when you look at their basic platforms. Now, of course, I'm not an expert in this. I don't live over there, and I don't. But when you look at their basic platforms on the left or on the right or anything in between, it's you don't see them talk about healthcare because they figured that one out. Like they got that, and they got. I'm pretty sure, at least recently, they were one of the best systems in the world. I mean, I think it's like them in France are some of the best in the world.
Yep.
And so you don't see anyone talking about healthcare. They're like, no, we solved that one. We solved that one. You don't see them talking about defunding the police because they don't have a police force that shoots people on the daily. They don't have that over there. It's not a thing. They don't have to worry about that one. You don't see them talking about war all that often because they're not blowing up the rest of the world. They're not doing that. Their government doesn't do that. And it was so refreshing to actually just see like, oh, they're actually maybe that's why other parts of the world are doing better. Well, one of the reasons, at least, other parts of the world are doing better on climate change because these other things that we're still grappling about, they figured out decades ago. They figured that out decades ago over there. So they don't have to worry about that anymore. They're like, healthcare. No, we solved that one. We're worried about the planet right now. Whereas
Yeah,
like, oh,
I loved my time in Italy. But yesterday when I was at in New York at AOC's office, I actually met a woman who was there to join us from France, and she said, "I do not understand this. I don't understand." And I talk to people all the time from other countries. I've freaking interviewed Bernie's brother, Larry Sanders, who is the health spokesperson for the Green Party in the UK. He doesn't freaking get it either. People in other countries, they cannot fathom why our country is treating us like this. Other countries, if other countries were treating us like this, we would be bombing them.
right. Well, and and they also, I bet that woman from France, it's no surprise that she was with you all because over in France, they don't put their politicians on pedestals. They do
Nope.
not do that in France. They will not hesitate to cover your office with shit. Literally.
Yeah.
They did that recently. They covered his office with shit. Like they give no fucks over there. And
Did
they
you?
have
I think I sent you the picture. I really think it was France, but one of their legislators was sitting in their office, and they literally put bricks. They literally put permanent bricks to keep him inside until he agreed to their demands.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they
That
give
is
no
so
fucks over there.
badass.
They strike. I mean, it's like, why do you think some of those workers in Germany got a 28.5-hour work week? Because they strike whenever they don't like the outside factors. Whenever they don't like what's going on. Joy just bounced. She was lying this whole time. Breakfast was waiting for her. There you are. You're back.
Sorry.
You bounced for a quick second. I was like, it turns out lunch was waiting for her the whole time. she's just like, all right, I've had enough of this. When he talks about the French spraying shit everywhere, that's when it's time to
Yeah, I was like,
dismount.
I gotta go.
But that I mean, that kind of dovetails into all this. It's so funny how we, the collective United States, we put politicians on these pedestals and worship them like celebrities, and they do the least. They do the absolute least, and we worship them the hardest. It is light years beyond backwards, and even like, I mean, people were even saying this when RBG passed, and I'm not trying to, like put down her death or anything like that. I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but this celebrity hero worship about a judge, it's bizarre to other like, it's just strange. It's very, very strange.
A judge who insulted Colin Kaepernick.
Sure, yeah. I mean, she wasn't perfect by any means, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not even trying to make it about her. I'm just saying, like, the theme of it is bizarre. It is very odd to be that way about a judge, who did some things I did like, who did some things I didn't like. But all that aside, it's just incredibly bizarre behavior. Culturally, when it comes to our relationship with our political system, it is very, very weird, and not in a good way. It is very, very weird in a creepy, sycophantic, bizarre way. And it's because at the end of the day, if we didn't have that, the mask would be off that, oh, wait a second, Wall Street owns everything, and this is a garbage in, garbage out system. It is not surprising that in my life, whenever I meet people in the political realm, it is an underwhelming and unpleasant experience. And I usually think, I wouldn't trust this person to feed my cat one time, let alone would I want to vote for them ever. It's because it is a garbage system that usually attracts garbage people. Is that all the time? No. Occasionally, you see there's a lot of great people who have good intentions who are trying to infiltrate, and I applaud them for trying. But for the most part, it really attracts a lot of garbage. And a lot of the times, the people who succeed in it, it's garbage. They don't even have, I mean, I went to high school with Connor Lamb. I know people that know the guy. He doesn't even have political views. Like he has nothing, like he's just an empty suit that you just process in. And he knew he was going to be a politician his entire life because he comes from power and he comes from money. And that's just something you're going to do. And he does all the virtue signaling bullshit that goes over, in that still goes over in the contemporary United States, especially in a district that has a lot of, that just kind of has a lot of that blue dog Dem mentality, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm for unions, even though that means nothing. I'm just saying it. Yeah. I mean, that guy doesn't even have political opinions.
No.
From what I've been told, for people, like, he doesn't even have them. Like, it's like I tweeted at him, he tweeted something ridiculously tone deaf about Israel-Palestine. And I just responded to him, and I was just like, the scariest part of this is you don't even know why this is bad. Like, you don't even know what you're saying. You don't even know what you're actually saying right now. And then people are like, Ron, you're giving him a pat. No, I'm not. That's the fucking truth. This guy doesn't know. He honestly doesn't. And I'm not saying he's an incredibly intelligent guy, I'm sure. I mean, in high school, I'm pretty sure he always did really well, at least. Like, it's not that it's that he's in that bubble to this extent. And to the rest of the world, we are so freaking bizarre. And I think if we start recognizing that, it might help us get to a better point.
Absolutely. And another something we're told all the time with my team is vote.
Yeah, get a clipboard, vote. We can't
It's
vote
like
our way out of this.
what has electoral politics gotten us? Did it get women, the right to vote? Did it change civil rights? Did it, help the LGBTQ community? Like, what what has it gotten us? Like to literally just try to discourage people. I mean, you could just like I just posted the link to sign our petition that we're filing the human rights violation with the UN. This is stupid. This is pointless. Blah blah blah. Vote people like Manchin out of office. I'm like, oh yeah, because he's the one fucking holding it up. Pramila Jayapal, who wrote one of the Medicare for All bills, literally just gave Biden an A as a grade. But yo, let's get rid of Manchin. It's like, just stop. Electoral politics is not helping us at all.
It's just one tool in the toolkit for change. And people can't hold two truths in their head. Is Joe Manchin awful? Of course he is. Would it be great to get rid of him? Absolutely. But you can't neglect the system that is going to let all of these officials just kind of coast if they do Wall Street's bidding. You can't just take that for granted and think, oh, well, I voted for the nice tweeter, so everything's fine now. And if we just get more nice tweeters, we'll be totally fine. And how dare it's like, no, that's not the way it works. Because all those things you just mentioned, they didn't happen because of nice talkers. They didn't have Twitter back then, but if they would have, everybody probably would have tweeted nice. It happened because of movements that were so loud, they didn't have a choice. And usually the only time, at least on the state and federal level, I mean, local, it's a little different, but state and federal, the only time, at least in my lifetime and in your lifetime, and I think it's going to be this way for a long time because of how screwed the system is, the only time a politician does anything good that you're going to like is when they're scared of losing their job. That's the only time. Hey, you could take California. Let's use California for an example, just for a second. Gavin Newsom, he's starting to actually turn down fracking permits. There's still hundreds he has to reverse. So I'm not saying like, oh, he's great now. There's still hundreds he needs to reverse, but he's turning down some new ones. All of a sudden, he found billions for broadband infrastructure that would really be a huge thing here. What do you think happened? You think he just got nicer all of a sudden? Maybe someone gave him a pudding pop and he really liked it. It tasted great. His hair's always in place now. No, he's scared he's going to lose his freaking job. And I get those messages every day. And I respond to them and I respond. I'm like, look, I know you're just a volunteer, but feel free to forward this to the appropriate party. If Gavin Newsom wants me to go to the mat for him, here's what he can do to get me to do that, because he sure as hell hasn't gone to the mat for Californians. Do I want to see Caitlyn Jenner become governor? Fuck no. I don't want to see that. But am I going to go to the mat for Gavin frickin' Newsom, a guy who will pose for the camera holding an electric charger while simultaneously improving fracking wells? The guy who's abandoned California? Hell no. If Gavin wants me to go to the mat for him, reverse all these other fracking permits too, support our single payer bill, and really deliver on this broadband infrastructure, then maybe, just maybe, I'll go to the mat for you on this recall, Gavin. You want my vote? Fucking come get it, because I'm a goddamn lefty and I am sick of being taken for granted, and it ain't going to happen anymore.
Absolutely. People need to start using their leverage. This whole like move Biden left bullshit, he already got your vote. He does not give a fuck about you. There is no moving left. What have you seen him do besides bomb Syria and shit like that? Like, what is he doing? He didn't even, follow through with a piece of shit public option for healthcare. I mean,
yeah, he hasn't even done that. They've been promising that since like 08.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, people need to. And when people say, "Why don't you protest Manchin instead of AOC?" That's what I think of. I'm like, you really think someone who didn't even agree to this shit while he campaigned, while he needed your votes, is going to magically, be like, oh, a single parent, that's great, when there's nothing, in it for him.
Right. Well, let me give a small, just sort of, I don't want to say like disagreement, but one thing I would say, and let me know if you agree, because you might not, and that's okay. But I think in the context of what you guys did at AOC's office, I think that the word protest is not entirely accurate, because you weren't like people are trying to make it out like you were protesting AOC as a kid or as a politician. That's not what you guys were doing, at least to my understanding. You were delivering a call to action. You were protesting, if anything, the inaction, and you were calling on it was a call to action. So, like, people were using the word protest against you, like they're protesting AOC. She actually supports it. No, they were delivering a call to action and a petition, and they were petitioning the person who promised to do what they're calling for. That's how it works, and so it's like, so I think in a way, it's like, it's not totally inaccurate to call it a protest, because you were protesting the entire situation, but people have used protest against what you guys were doing in a very dishonest way. So in a way, it's like, well, technically, it's like they're not protesting AOC. They're protesting what's going on around Medicare for all, and they're giving a call to action to the appropriate party, which in this case are the people who campaigned on Medicare for all, which AOC is that person. She campaigned on Medicare for all. She has a huge influence. That's who you deliver that call to action to. And then if that call to action is delivered on, then you start showing up to the Joe Mansions. But it's like step one needs to be completed first. Step one is get the people who campaigned on this stuff to actually fight for it and use their leverage when they got it. That's what we're calling for right now, because that's not been delivered on. Once that's delivered on, then we'll show up to the Joe Mansions, to even the Republicans. That's when you show up to them, because you say, hey, the people we elected, they're fighting tooth and nail for this policy most of the country wants. We need your votes now. We're not getting that step one. And the people are trying to pretend like we are. We're not.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're completely correct.
So, what I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you had a long freaking day, but what did I not harp on that we should harp on in regards to the marches, and regards to is there any other awesome Savage Joy moments we need to hear about? This is your reflective. So reflect. If there's anything I missed, reflect away.
Well, I think one of the most touching moments for me was my insurance doesn't cover out of state. So even after all the work I did, I was not able to march, because even with my cane, there was a very big possibility I could fall. Or, there's cars. It was 1.8 miles. The sidewalk is all jacked up in DC, stuff like that. I just couldn't take a chance. And I had people walking up to me and saying, I'm marching for you. I'm marching for you. And this one gentleman came up to me and he had a picture of me. And he said, I'm carrying this with me, so you still get to march. And I'm going to cry thinking about it. It was the most thoughtful, sweet thing. And, Reverend Annie Chambers spoke. She's in an electric wheelchair. She went 3 blocks because she was like, I'm still going to do my best to march. I had a gentleman come up to me with a cane. He was elderly and, had a lot of health problems. And he said, I'm going 2 blocks and then I'll come back. And then when they come back, I'm going 2 more blocks with them. And he was not in good shape, but he said, I didn't come from Philadelphia to DC to not march. I'm gonna march. Even if it's only a few hundred feet, I'm marching. And there were like 5 people who said that. There were more people in wheelchairs, canes, you name it, who were just determined to at least walk a little bit. And it was incredible. It was beautiful. It was powerful. And, you know, the amount of people who were so appreciative just because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, I wish there was a march or something, but a lot of people don't take that initiative. So a lot of people were just very thankful that, you know, me and my comrades stepped up and said, well, this isn't happening, so we're going to do it. And we had people fly in from Utah, Indiana, Florida, like to DC to be part of our march. And it was so humbling and so, like I said to my co-organizer, Sharif, I said, all I want is that at the end of Saturday, I can hug you and tell you it was all worth it. And it so fucking was.
Right on. Well, so for anyone who this might be their first time tuning into this time of the month, where can people go to learn more about you, Joy?
So my Twitter is at SavageJoyMarie1. You can find me on Roar Media Live, and on YouTube, and oh my God, Rockfin. And our website is M4M4ALL.org. And you can also order the parody book I co-wrote with Pat the Burner, aka Peter Douche, aka Nate's Liver. It's a shitlib parody book. So you can check that out at savageandpat.com.
Right on. And shout out to Snugs Life. What's up, buddy? Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. I want to thank you, Joy, Graham, Lee, and Jimmy for joining the movement. Excuse me. It was a pleasure organizing with Joy. We got more actions in the pipeline, says Snugs Life. Thank you so much for that, Snugs. Much appreciated.
That's my prime, my co-organizer. Sharif.
Let's see. Unknown Space Pioneer. When is the next march for M4ALL? Question mark. Is there one plan?
We're gonna be doing it annually. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, Sharif. Don't hate me.
Oh man, you just spilled the beans.
I think I did. We're hoping that we don't have to. That's our hope, and we're not planning anything as of now. But it is very feasible that we will, until we get it. We can't stop. We're just hoping that with filing the human rights violation complaint with the UN, we're hoping that at least some elected reps will meet with us or something. So, but yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, it's gonna have to be annual.
Right on. Let's see. DC. Oh yeah, Lucy's here. She's been climbing around. DC, thank you for the super chat contribution. I came in late, but did you all discuss infiltrators, censorship within the movement? For instance, Fiorella Isabel getting cut off mid-sentence. We didn't. Joy was in DC, not LA. I was in LA. I was standing on the same platform with Fee. I did not find anything in her speech objectionable. I enjoyed her speech. I thought it was great. I mean, when it happened, I honestly thought it was a malfunction. Like I thought the PA was just malfunctioned for a second. That's honestly what I thought happened. And to my knowledge, they've been corresponding about it, and that's honestly all I know.
We did release a statement today. The woman who cut Fiorella off she's not a nice person. And she has been removed, to say it politely, immediately. So she is no longer going to have anything. We are no longer going to have anything to do with her. That behavior is inexcusable. And no, Fiorella was asked to speak. She offered to speak. We don't cut people off. That's bullshit. So she has been removed. And, none of us support that at all. Ron, are you still there? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy knocked the cord out. She's like, end the frickin' show. I've had enough. I want pets and treats. You've been going on for 2. All right, well, there you go. Joy knows more about the situation than I did. I mean, I was look, I mean, and I'm with you. I don't see, and I mean, everybody made this big deal about like, oh, well, I don't like this speaker, I don't like that speaker. And I'm like, look, I don't think I agree with every single speaker who was booked in every single city. Like, I'm pretty sure I probably don't, but I don't give a fuck. Like who cares? And yeah, I mean, I don't recall every single word that Fee said, but I don't. I mean, I know some people were like, "Oh, she brought up force the vote," and people didn't like that. And I was like, "Why?
Most
Why?" I mean,
met during force the vote,
right?
So
Yeah,
no, that had nothing to do with it. I mean, I was literally the speaker on the town hall. That had nothing to do with it. It's just the woman who did it is just not a good person. And that's why she is absolutely no longer with us. And I shouldn't say that. Let's say it like that.
all right, yeah, and I don't. Just for the record, I don't even know like who you're talking about exactly. So I'm just, this is just, yeah, I
Just
don't
the
have.
person who cut her off, essentially.
Okay,
What I scheduled over 50 speakers across all the marches because doing a show for 4 years, I had a lot of connections and what have you. But I was worried about my speakers in DC particularly, and we gave
sure.
LA people, I'll reach out to people, I'll get you people. At the end of the day, it's your decision who you want, who you don't want. So this was, for people to say, well, I'm not going to New York because I don't like someone in LA. Like, nonsense. Nonsense. You support a cause or you don't. It's that simple. And you don't have to come, but if you're not going to come, don't try and bash those of us who are actually getting off our ass.
Yeah, and if somebody says something you disagree with, so what? Like it's like what's the problem? Like what's the frickin' problem? I mean, yeah, I don't. It's like you said before, some pettiness, and it's not good. But some people are saying Lucy cut me off. Well, there's no disputing that she did, and that's if Lucy censors me, it's okay. I'm usually anti-censorship, but when Lucy kicks out the cable, I deserved it. I deserved it. It was justified. That's the one. That is what I am pro-censorship in that regard. Go ahead, spread it online. Spread it online. Ron is pro-censorship when his cat kicks out the cord. Not just on him, on anyone. Lucy is, I am authoritarian only when it comes to my cat, with her being the authoritarian, not me. Go ahead, spread that. Cancel me for it. Anyway, Kate says, what's up, Kate? Good to see you. Just joined the stream. What is the next step for M4M4ALL after the everyone in, nobody out petition is filed on August 6th with the UN? I don't know. I'd say let's get that going first, right? I mean, do you know, Joy?
Yeah, I mean, that is our next action. I definitely recommend signing up for our email because we are going to be doing a monthly action. And we're floating ideas. But yeah, I mean, that's our focus now because we need to have a lawyer type it up. Like, it's got to be very, well documented and things like that. So it's a big job.
Right on. And then Snugs Life says M4M4ALL will have small actions throughout the year. Thank you so much for that, Snugs Life. Snugs Life. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Snugs Life. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, DC. Thank you, Unknown Space Pioneer. Thank you, Snugs Life again. Everybody, follow Joy on Twitter at Savage Joy Marie 1. Check out her show on Royal Media and get her book at savageandpat.com. And you know the drill. We're going to sign off for now. Joy said, or wait, no, Duchess says wolf. And Lucy says meow. And Joy says peace and single payer now. I got that. Oh, I think we just came up with a new thing.
Everybody in?
That rhymed. Awesome. See you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.